Imagine with me your hurts, and imagine walking through them so that they're only in the rear view mirror of your life. Imagine that when a memory comes back of something that took place, something that happened to you, it is only a memory. The emotions, the strong emotions attached to it are gone. That's my purpose in teaching this material today. Hi, I'm Pastor Rick. I'm the lead pastor here at Columbus First Assembly of God. And this is material that I taught on a Wednesday night here in the church. And we don't record our Wednesday evening program. It's a little bit more Bible study and discussion. But because I touched on this subject, I had requests for it to be recorded. Well, we're not set up conveniently to record in that room. So I said, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to go through this. Please come on Wednesday. But some of the requests came from out of town. So I decided to come on down here and to sit down and just talk, you and I, about getting on the back side of hurt. It's that story that I had you imagine. Imagine that those hurtful events of your life, those things that you thought you were just going to have to live with, that you could actually get on the backside of. You could be healed. You could have nothing more than a memory. Sure, there'll be some emotion tied to it, but not the controlling emotion that controls you now. Every time that individual comes back to your mind, every time that circumstance comes back to your mind, that strong controlling emotion, whether it is of revulsion or of shame or of bitterness or of a desire for vengeance, what if those emotions are gone? That's what I hope will be able to be accomplished today. And so I've taken my Wednesday material, I've taken my Wednesday notes. I'm going to use the slide deck that I used on Wednesday and show that to you also. And we're going to walk through this material that I've entitled Getting on the Backside of Hurt, Recovery from the Effects of Hurt. An individual by the name of Bev Rivas says this: everyone has wounds, everyone pretends they don't. Everyone has wounds, everyone pretends they don't. I have had wounds. I've had some significant wounds. Wounds that I had in my childhood, in my middle school years, in my high school years. Wounds that were deep. Wounds that I thought I would have to live with my entire life. Wounds that I managed, kind of. You know what I mean? You manage your wounds. I didn't expect that there was anything more than being able to manage them. However, because I found a relationship with Jesus Christ, He came to live in my heart. And I found some people that understood how powerful Jesus is in the ability to heal our wounds, that through a process of time, a process of healing, I am on the backside of that hurt. It's in my rearview mirror. Memories come back and they no longer have the sting. They no longer have the pain. They no longer fuel the anger or the rage or the desire to get back. They're in the rearview mirror. They're on the backside of my life. So this material is a combination of stuff that I've learned. There's going to be a couple references I'm going to give you, a couple reference books, I should say. And then I hope that this material will be very beneficial to you, because it's just you and me now. Maybe there's a couple of you in the room, but I expect that most people watch this are going to be watching it alone. So as I'm recording this, I'm thinking about you, sitting there in your family room or your living room. Or maybe this is playing while you're doing some work in your kitchen or in your workshop. Maybe you're working on a home improvement project. Maybe you're walking and you're just playing this video as you walk. Wherever you are, it's you and I now. And so I'm going to share some stories, personal stories, mine and others. And I want you to think of your stories, and let's believe that God is going to use this material to help get you on the backside of hurt. I want to share just 3 illustrations for you today. A man grows up wounded by a critical and controlling mother, and he promises to never again allow himself to be dominated by a woman. He learns to hide his feelings from others. And when he marries, he becomes very closed off and distant from his wife. He guards his heart and refuses to talk about things that bother him. And as a result, their marriage becomes cold and meaningless. Or a young girl who grows up in an emotionally abusive family, who makes a vow never to let herself be hurt again by another person. She promises herself that she will never allow anyone to yell at her or to put her down. And in order to fulfill her vow, she herself becomes the abuser. She starts lashing out at the first sign that a relationship is growing intimate, or at the first sign that someone is unhappy with her. She takes control of every situation in order to maintain the upper hand, and soon she becomes the very person she vowed to steer clear of. Or you might see a bully picking on smaller kids on the playground. What you're witnessing is a child who has been deeply wounded by others. Maybe it's parents, maybe it's an older sibling, maybe it's an older classmate. So they act out their rage by picking on those who are smaller. They learn to control their world through brute force and intimidation. And this need to dominate carries over into every other relationship they have, including their future marriages. I heard this phrase recently. I think I'll pass it on to you. If you are as good as you're going to be, then your life is as good as it's ever going to get. Did you hear that? If you're as good as you're going to be, this is as good as life is going to get. And I don't think any of us want our life to remain where it is, especially if we haven't gotten on the backside of hurt yet, because you're saying, is this all there is? Is this my life? Do I have to live like this forever? And the good news is the answer is no. But it starts with you. Because if you're as good as you're going to be, this is as good as life is going to get. So I'm sure that's why you're watching me today. You want life to get better. So you're going to make a commitment to find out what you need to do so that you can become better yourself, so that life will improve. The answer is found in Jesus Christ, but it is found in Jesus Christ and us working in partnership with Him. There is a prophecy in the book of Isaiah that was spoken about the coming Messiah. Now, Jesus in the Gospels actually read this prophecy when he was in the synagogue and claimed it for himself because he is the Messiah. So everything that this prophecy says the Messiah is coming to do, Jesus already has come to do and has done them, and now they're available to us. So let me read to you from Isaiah chapter 61, verses 1 through 3. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Did you hear that? Our broken hearts can be bound up. Why do you bind something up? So they can heal. You just don't, and you bind it up so it's stronger. But you just don't bind it up to bind it up. There's a purpose. He binds up the brokenhearted so our broken hearts can heal. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, to release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. I found that when I was deeply hurt, some of these emotions, there was despair, there was a deep mourning and a grieving inside. My heart was broken, and I was brokenhearted. And Jesus came, and He helped me to find freedom and healing, and that's what I want to do today. First of all, so how do you get on the backside of hurt? Couple of things to realize. Number one, hurting people hurt people. Hurting people hurt people. It's one of the side effects of being hurt. It's one of the things that we're going to need to recover from ourselves, but hurting people hurt people. It's helpful for us to realize that the individual who hurt you, intentionally or unintentionally, They said things. They tore you down. Maybe there was sexual molestation involved or sexual abuse of some kind. Maybe it was emotional abuse. Maybe they abandoned you. Whatever it is, understand something. Hurting people hurt people. That individual themselves was probably hurting and never got on the backside of their hurt. Now, that doesn't excuse their actions. They're still responsible for it, but at least it might paint them in a different light for you. Hurting people hurt people. The second thing is this: hurting people are easily hurt by other people. When you've been hurt, another side effect is that you yourself become easily wounded or hurt or offended by other people. Sometimes the hurt that you experienced has come about not so much because of what the person said or did, is because hurting people are easily hurt by others. You were hurt by someone not because they did something, but because you are easily hurt because of your former woundedness. Sandra D. Wilson says this: typically we hurt others most deeply in the areas of our deepest wounding. Typically, we hurt others in the areas of our most deepest wounding. Hurting people hurt people, and hurting people are easily hurt by others. That hurt usually comes out of their own wounding, or when we hurt others, it comes out of our own wounding. And so, one of the things I had to ask myself many years ago, and when I teach this material, those who come to the classes or who are here on a Sunday morning, if I teach it on a Sunday morning, I usually ask them this question because it's a question I needed to ask myself. Actually, it's two questions, and I want you to ask these questions as I am speaking them. Do I hurt people? Am I easily hurt by other people? Do I hurt people? Am I easily hurt by other people? In my younger days, I used to do both, and I did them very often, very frequently. I think some of it was a response to how hurting I was, and so I was protecting myself, and so my words were sharp and cutting. Sometimes they were meant to be humorous, but my humor had an edge that sometimes cut and wounded deeply. I was hurting. And the people that hurt me, as I consider what their lives must have been like, they were hurting also. Hurting people hurt people. And I was easily hurt. It didn't take much to wound me because my heart was raw already from some wounding. And so a casual comment by a friend in middle school or a comment by a relative just broke my heart. Now sometimes, especially in middle school and high school, I didn't let those emotions out. I didn't show those emotions because that would have been even worse. And so I had to stuff all of this pain inside. One time I had to turn and go out of the room quickly because as a freshman in high school, you don't cry in front of the other guys. But a friend said something, and it brushed up against other wounding that I have. In fact, I heard this illustration once, and let me give it to you. If you have an infection in one of your fingers, maybe you've got a splinter that wasn't taken care of, and it's grown infected, and you know when it's infected, your hand will turn kind of red. Well, you know what? You've got this small area that's infected, but the whole area is sore. And even if somebody brushes up against your arm, the reaction may be far greater than what they actually did. They just brushed up against your arm, but man, you reacted so strongly. Maybe you actually hit them inadvertently, and it's like, whoa, what's the matter? Well, see, there's an infected wound. And I believe that's what happened to me and possibly has happened to you. Deep inside our hearts, there's an infected wound that has not been healed. It's not been processed well yet. And someone else comes alongside and says something that really is not that hurtful, but it brushes up against that. And you are so hurt by it, so easily hurt by it. So first two things: hurting people hurt people. Hurting people are easily hurt by other people, and now let's personalize it. Do I hurt people? Am I easily hurt by people? Well, then more than likely, you've got wounds. And you're probably watching this because you know you have wounds. I'm here to tell you that they can be healed. Third point, just kind of real introductory stuff. We have all been touched by pain and heartache. Life hurts. Everybody has been hurt by something. Life hurts. We've all been touched by pain and heartache. And then the fourth point is this. The painful experiences we suffer are seldom resolved. And that's why you might be 50 years old and you're still dealing with stuff that happened when you were 8. Pastor Jimmy Evans shared a story in his book, When Life Hurts, Finding Hope and Healing in the Pain You Carry, about a man, a senior citizen, who came to his office. He had preached his material. It's called The Hurt Pocket. You can find it online, or you can find it in his book, When Life Hurts, Finding Hope and Healing for the Pain You Carry. Anyhow, Pastor Jimmy was talking about a man who came to his office, a senior citizen, and began to talk. And this man was in his mid to late 60s. And as they talked, the man finally opened up and began to sob and talked about an experience he had when he was 8 years old. Painful, humiliating, embarrassing, shameful. It became a secret. He had never told anyone about it up until he finally opened up and talked to Pastor Jimmy. And now he's in his mid to late 60s. All of those years, this unprocessed pain. See, the painful experiences we suffer are seldom resolved. And so when they remain in our heart, they impact our marriage. They come into our marriage. They come into our employment situations. They come into church relationships, family relationships, all kinds of relationships. And sometimes we even pass them on in our parenting. Remember, hurting people hurt people. And you know where hurting people often hurt people is when they hurt their children. I've hurt my children. Out of my own unprocessed and unresolved pain, I've hurt my children. I hurt siblings. I've hurt my spouse. Now, not to the extent I might have had I not walked through healing, but still, there's still stuff in there because hurting people hurt people. And I'm going to close just this portion. I'm going to break this up just so that you have time to listen and time to process. I'm going to close this with a quote from Pastor Jimmy Evans from his book, When Life Hurts. Unprocessed pain has to be dealt with. And left to our own devices, most of us will always deal with it in the wrong way. Only God can bring true healing to our hearts and help us resolve the unprocessed pain residing in the hurt pockets of our spirit. Now, I use the term hurt pocket. That's where Pastor Jimmy says we stuff our hurts. Our unprocessed hurts are someplace. Our unhealed hurts are someplace. Our unresolved hurts are someplace. Pastor Jimmy says we put them inside of our heart in a pocket, our hurt pocket, and we try to keep them there, but they end up breaking out. When the painful experience we suffer are seldom resolved. And as Pastor Jimmy says, unprocessed pain has to be dealt with, and that's what this is about. It's helping you to, once again, come back to that pain, but this time not just to think about it, not just to have the emotions connected with it, but to bring it to a place of finding some resolution. Each time I share one of these sessions, I'm going to close it with this quote. It's also by Jimmy Evans. He says, "There is no wound that God cannot heal. There is no pain that he cannot remove. There is no sorrow so deep that he cannot resolve it. But first, we have to let him in. We have to find the strength to open our hands and our hearts and surrender our pain to God. We have to let him inside the deepest, darkest, most wounded regions of our spirits, and that's not an easy thing to do. The fact that you're even watching this video, it's not an easy thing to do, to hear about these things. It's going to be a harder thing to process them, but I've been there. it seems harder than it is. Certainly, there's going to be feelings that'll come up. Certainly, you're going to have to face some things again, and you're going to have to do some things. But what you get on the backside of hurt is far worth everything that it cost you to get there. Let me pray for you. Lord Jesus, Father, for the man and or the woman, the teenager, Father, for even the senior adult, whoever they may be, who either was sent this material or found it online, Lord, it is my prayer for them that even now, hope would rise in their heart. Because as they begin to hope, they will begin to move forward, and they can finally go through the pain and get on the backside of the pain. So it is nothing more than a memory in the rear view mirror of their life that no longer has a control over their hearts. Bless them. And as we go forward and as I teach more material, may those who watch this material find true healing in the name of Jesus. Amen. Two things, resources. There's a slide coming up right now listing 2 books. The book I've mentioned or already quoted from twice, When Life Hurts, Finding Hope and Healing for the Pain You Carry. And the other one is Healing for Damaged Emotions by Dr. David Seamans. This was the book that was so helpful in my life many decades ago. Still in print because it is an incredibly helpful book. Healing for Damaged Emotions, and then Pastor Jimmy Evans, When Life Hurts, Finding Hope and Healing for the Pain You Carry. Both are currently still available. I know that Pastor Jimmy's book is available electronically. I believe the Seamans book is also available in a digital format if you prefer that over an actual physical book. And the nice thing about the digital format is you can have it instantly and you can begin to read. Well, I will let you go now, and we'll pick this up again whenever you're ready to move on to part 2.